everybody? Welcome to the Daily Grind, episode 11.
Woo!
We are now off kilter because normally we're 5 days a week, but yet we missed out on yesterday due to weather conditions here in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, Mother Nature.
Yeah, Mother Nature got in our way, so blame her. But we're back, and we got a full show ahead of you today. And
sure.
we got
There
a lot to
wasn't
talk
any
about.
shortage of stuff happening over the weekend, so.
Right. So I say we let our own Presley Christine kick it off. Go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna start with the heavy shit. All right.
Maybe, why not? That's what the news does.
Okay, so we'll start with Representative Bowman. He is Democrat from New York, I believe. I might be messing that up, but he's in the House of Representatives. You might famously remember Jamaal Bowman as the guy a few months ago who pulled the fire alarm.
Okay.
They were doing a congressional vote, and he should have gotten in trouble, but he kind of just got a slap on the wrist. But he pulled the fire alarm to delay the vote because a bunch of Democrat representatives were running late. And he pulled the fire alarm, and then they had him on camera pulling the fire alarm, and he was like, "Oh, there's an exit door right there. I thought it opened the door." And you're just like, and then when they released the full security tape, he takes down the sign that says exit only, or or whatever for the door, and then pulls the fire alarm. So he knew what he was doing, but he just got a slap on the wrist for it. But for this picture, you can put the picture back up. He just introduced a bill to the House. And let me make sure I'm getting my information correct on this. Give me just a sec. It's a reparations bill for... my phone is not cooperating right now. Of course, now I can't find it. You ever have stuff like pop up on your page and you screenshot it and then you can't find it later?
Yep. All the time.
I lost it, so I'll just Google it real quick. I should have written down the information. I have a case on the Mondays.
On Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, we're playing catch up here, folks. So bear with us here. We're still trying to get our feet underneath us here because with the 1 day off, it kind of set us off kilter. It's a tad. I mean, once again, we'll finish the week off with episode 14. This was a 15, so the 5 days a week kind of gone off the kilter. Back to this.
So it's called House of Representatives Bill 414. And it's a 14 trillion trillion dollar package that wants to give reparations to African Americans for slavery and all the after effects of systematic racism and the restoration of rights to Black people after everything they've been through and so on and so forth. But let me say that again, 14 trillion.
Which we have plenty of, by the way.
Yeah, we can just pull that out of our behinds. Which would equate to about $333,000 to every Black person, paid out over a couple decades. Which is just ridiculous. Like, I get it. Like, we don't have the world's like greatest history. We've had our mess ups. We've taken a few wrong routes over the years. But this is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be harsh, but you never... I'm just going to be really blunt here. You never picked my cotton, and I never owned you, and there's nothing. And I don't buy the the black people don't have equal rights nowadays thing, because we have a black female vice president that has failed her way to the top. And I say this as someone who grew up in California when she was attorney general and everything else, and she was awful at her job. And she has climbed the ladder because she's a black woman. That is it. It's not on her success whatsoever because she's awful. And it's like, we've had a black president. Like, you can't tell me that black people can't do what they want to do. And my husband will be the first to tell you that is the most irritating thing when they just want to keep bringing this stuff up. And I think it was Morgan Freeman that was asked, how do you stop racism, or how do you cure racism? And he was just like, you stop talking about it. Because the more you bring this stuff up, and there's a study that I'm going to talk about on one of my future episodes of Middle Ground, that showed like race relations in this country were actually pretty good. Like people considered relations to be pretty well until 24. I believe it was 2014, which was the I can't think of the word right now, when Black Lives Matter, the organization, was created.
Mhm.
And you see this like peak, like it kind of hung around like the 60 percentile range for both white and black Americans, and then it just went whoosh, like deep down. And the latest polls show it in like the 20s.
Hmm.
I think 32 for white Americans and 20 something for black Americans. Like, it's gone down drastically. And I think there's something to be said for the more you talk about it, the more you bring stuff like this up, the more you make it a thing, the more it becomes a thing. Like,
Mhm.
no one was, I never looked at any of my friends as, oh, this is my black friend, my Indian friend, my Asian friend. Like, they were just my friends. It's not until you make it a thing, like, oh, you're friends with the black girl, that you realize, oh, I'm friends with the black girl. Like, it's not until someone brings it up.
Mhm.
And stuff like this, on top of just completely blowing out our debt even more, because look at how much all those stimulus checks are kicking us in the rear end now with the price of everything. I mean, I was watching a TikTok about a lady that went to Aldi and bought the same stuff. She had found like an old receipt from 2020, like January 2020. And she went to Aldi and bought the same stuff that she had bought on that receipt and paid like $5 more for it, or $6 more. So, like, percentage wise, it was a 30% increase in food prices.
I'm just trying to see where they're going to come up. Where he wants to come up with $14 trillion.
He's
And,
trying
and,
to,
and by the way, what about those who identify as black? Does that count?
right.
Because that's the thing.
He said there was 246 years of free labor that the U.S. economy needs to now account for.
We now need to account for it.
Yeah, so we got to pay them back for not getting paid while they were slaves, even though
So,
none of them were slaves. They're maybe your ancestors. You want to bring back your great great grandma? I'll give her some money. I ain't giving you crap.
I mean, I don't think they want to weaken at Bernie's or relatives, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I don't. Where does he get the idea of coming up with 14? Why is 14 the number though? Why not just 30? Aim high. I mean, I don't understand. And yeah, I know it's agenda driven. It's clearly he has a dog in the fight apparently, but we can't keep paying for yesterday's mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we tore down statues that were part of our historical culture. And we did that all in the way because of racism. We let a flag dictate whether or not it's racist or not because certain groups use that flag. Which that's the very same flag that was on the top of a vehicle in the 1970s TV show, which no one thought much about back in the day.
Look at the way the Nazis ruined that's Hindu symbol of peace, man.
Right. So I mean, hell, I mean, you want to get right down to it. I mean, gang affiliations have ruined the Raiders and the Cowboys because
And
they were.
Raider fans also ruin that.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But I mean, I'm just saying that you're not wrong about that. But I mean, $14 trillion. I mean, we already in debt already to other countries. So I know we can just print money because apparently that's the thing, but it devalues our dollar a whole hell of a lot. And once again, so let's say you take
Yeah.
your situation. You have a black man married to a white woman. Do you get compensation for that because you're married to him, or is
What
that
about, do my kids get like a half check because they're mixed?
yeah? So I mean, how does that work? Um,
Are you gonna go back in everyone's family tree and see if there's like a black person somewhere? Like at some point, we're all eventually kind of mixed with something, a little bit of everything. Like there's no pure bloods out there, rarely anymore.
how does a guy get that far up into the political realm where he can make those kind of claims?
Well, he shouldn't even be. I mean, the fact that he's sponsoring this bill in itself is ridiculous. But he shouldn't even be there anymore. Like if had at any, and I'm just gonna be honest about, like, I'm gonna pull a Wiley for a minute. Like if the other side had done this, like if Mitch McConnell walked up there and pulled the thing to delay the vote, they would have expelled him, even though McConnell's in the Senate, not the House. But either way, like they would have expelled him. They would have been like, because that's a actually a federal crime because you're prohibiting governmental proceedings because a vote was going on. So you're delaying a governmental proceeding, which is against the law.
This
At
is
the
why.
very least, he should have lost his position, but he just kind of got a slap on the wrist, like, well, don't do it again.
Well, this is why term limits are very important. They affect you as a president, they affect you as a governor, but they don't seem to affect you when you're in Congress. So
Well, this guy's
as you,
young though. He just got in. He was just doing
as
it.
you
Yeah, I mean, put the picture back
oh
up. He's
yeah,
young.
yeah, okay. So he's going to make a name for himself,
Yeah, he's
pretty
young.
much. Okay, yeah,
Probably
okay.
40s, 50s.
Well, he's already been there too long because of saying stupid shit like that. So
Yeah,
wow.
it's is there anything else important in this? But and people are being honest about it. They're like, HR 414 is a one house bill with no chance of passage, so it's clearly a political statement more than anything else.
Hmm.
But they're trying to spin it as um ho- holding the federal government accountable for the legacy of slavery and the ongoing effects of systematic racism.
Okay,
Big eye roll.
that makes it all better.
Yeah. Making everything more expensive. Did you guys like the $20 egg cartons? Because it'll be coming back if there's something like this passed. Like,
I
you
mean,
like
isn't it
paying
bad?
$12 for a loaf of bread? Then this is for you. That money just doesn't come out of thin air. Like people don't understand that. You don't just like print it.
Well, you do, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but it devalues. The more, like,
Right.
think of a limited edition Beanie Baby. Okay, the more of these they make, the less money it's worth. If it's the only one of its kind, it's worth a lot more money.
Well, I mean, to
The dollar
simplify,
in and of itself is the same way.
the way to simplify it was back in the mid '80s, early '90s. Trading cards for sports all got oversaturated. Like there was all these different brands came out and they were putting out all these different cards. So like a rookie card of say Troy Aikman that could have been worth $60 at the time became six. So the more you make it, the more you devalue the product itself. And then of course eBay came along and devalued all that crap. So because once again, hey, I get a Michael Jordan rookie card for $100. The card book values for 1,500. But then you get all these fakes that come out and everything else, and it ruined the entire market. They've rebounded since then. I'll give them credit for that. I mean, they definitely rebounded and found a way to make it better again. but to the point where it's too pricey to go after now. It's not even worth it.
Yeah. So that was our first one. I thought that was a interesting one to kick off with because that was just insane. Just the dollar amount was just like, and then it's like, that quote said, it's just a political statement because how would you actually put something like that into practice? Like we were talking about, like how
Right.
would you dignify who gets what, how often the money's getting paid out, where the money's
Oh,
coming
and
from.
all the scheming that will go on for those who are trying to get a piece of that action too.
Everyone
It's,
marking black on their
it's like,
on
well,
their
I'm kind of,
census.
it's like I'm, a little dark, so yeah, African
I got a tan.
American, right? I mean, what would Hulk Hogan be considered? He's leathery.
Oh, don't bring up Hulk Hogan. You're gonna piss off your co-hosts again.
No, but you know what though? I mean, hey, to his credit, he did help save. So
Do you have that picture I sent you?
did I post it? I didn't put it up here. No, I did not.
Um,
But
I
yeah,
thought it.
but
I thought it was sweet. He actually went into the car and like helped get the lady out of the car. Like,
yeah, it was a young teenage girl. She flipped her car, and Hogan and his wife and a friend of theirs was heading back from wherever they were at. Then they stopped and saw this vehicle, and Hogan and his buddy got out of the car. And they opened the door, and I'm pretty sure when the words "I got you, brother" happened, came out of his mouth. I'm pretty sure it might have startled her for a second, but he says he used a he poked a hole in the airbag to deflate the bag to get to be able to pull her out. And once again, if you say Hulk Hogan's name to most of America these days, people go to the sex tape. They go to what he said on the sex tape. They go to the whole
because
Gawker trial.
he was obviously in the right state of mind when he was
Right,
making a sex tape.
right. Well, he didn't know he was making a sex tape because his friend Bubba Love Sponge had video cameras going in his room, and then Bubba's producer, Matt Lloyd, took the tape to hold it against Bubba to get a raise out of him. That didn't happen, so he sold to Gawker, and that whole thing blew up. And it put Hogan's world in a whole bind. And once again, this is Hogan going through marital issue. For those who weren't familiar with this situation, his ex-wife Linda Hogan was churning him for money, after money, and lawyering up all the damn time. And every time in the state of Florida, anytime a wife gets a lawyer, guess who's got to pay for it? The husband.
So
That's
you making
Florida.
sure you get a good lawyer.
That is Florida law right there. So yeah, he had to deal with all that. So I'm not excusing what he said. I'm just saying until you're in that state of mind to know where he was at that time, I'm not going to sit here and judge the guy. I mean, look, I look back at his career and what he did for that industry, and go, if he hadn't come along, I don't know I don't know how professional wrestling or sports entertainment, for that matter, would have been perceived today.
And
Because
at the end of the day, just because someone has a bad day, they say something out of character, they have a low moment in their life, and they do things that are unusual for them or not exactly making good decisions or saying good things, it doesn't mean that that is who they are as a person. We can all have, I think as a society now, we kind of jump to the extreme all the time. Like the minute you say a word, you're just chastised. Like that country singer who said the N word while he was
mhm,
video gaming with his friends, like he just kind of said it in the moment. And then he got blasted all over TV as a racist. And I'm like, no, like
right,
he said a word he shouldn't have said in the heat of a moment, not thinking about it. Like, and obviously Hulk Hogan's situation is a little bit different, but I don't, with the amount of stuff that he did over the years and the amount of people that he's worked with, something would have come out sooner. I feel like there would have been something more extreme if he was a racist than just saying the word on the tape. Like, I just feel like it takes a lot more than that. Um, but as a culture, we just jump to this extreme now, and it's like the minute you messed up, you're you're canceled. People blow it
yeah,
completely out of proportion now. And I will say it is one of my husband's biggest pet peeves, the amount of specifically white people that get mad for black people. Like they get offended for you.
mhm,
And that drives him insane. Like we're not even mad about it. Why are you mad about it? Like, we don't think it's racist. Like, shut up. So that is one of his biggest pet peeves.
a lot of people like to take a stand just to be noticed, right? And to draw attention to themselves. I mean, look,
Or to say they're part of the right side, you know.
yeah. So look, I mean, look, people are gonna make mistakes every day. You know, I make 2 or 3 a day. Ain't gonna lie, sometimes more. But I know enough to where I know I'm a good enough person. The Trey McLean version of me, the Trey Mack version is an asshole. But that's because that's what my character is. But I know that you know what I do is good enough for most people who like me. And those who are going to pass a judgment on me because of what I may have done or said at one time or another, that's on them because this world goes by. This world goes by with or without you. So you know that's we all have to kind of get on that and just look, learn to live with each other or just learn to deal without. You know that's just how life is.
And then get over the small shit. Like, I'm really
Mm-hmm.
like, people gotta over analyze everything now, and just, it's like sometimes people just mess up. Sometimes your phone's chirping.
Yeah, my buddy Jason's asking me a question.
Sometimes people just make mistakes, and you gotta have a little empathy, I guess, sometimes, and just understand that people can go through things in life and become a little out of their norm, become a little out of character, and do and say things that they wouldn't necessarily normally do. And it
Right.
doesn't make those things right, but you also have to have grace and understand that, you know, it happens sometimes, and they can apologize and move on.
Well, you know what happens a lot now that I'm getting really tired of though.
Hmm.
I'm tired of seeing the NFC Championship game being hosted by the San Francisco 49ers. And yet here we are again.
Yo, did you see? Hey, they already. Did you see? I sent you. They already released the logo for next year's Super Bowl. So we
Yes.
got to see. I want to see if this is. We're gonna be talking about this a year from now to see how legit this is.
Yeah, because the colors are green and
Purple,
purple.
I believe. Yeah.
So
So
so so
Eagles,
so
Ravens.
or Vikings Jets. That will never happen. Anyway, I'm not. But yeah, the NFL championship games are set as far as for the AFC and NFC. You
Please,
got
Lions. I'm begging you, Lions. Please pull
yes,
it out. I'm begging you.
yes. The Detroit Lions have to head to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. By the way, did you
You
catch
hey,
the
you gotta say it right. It's 40 whiners.
right? Okay, the 49ers. I'm
Mm.
sure my friend Melissa will enjoy me saying that. But
All they do is bitch.
that's true. But did you see the press conference that Todd Boyles for the Bucks had when one of the reporters who had her one moment to ask him the big important question? They're going to go to Detroit, right? And she says, "What? How is your team preparing to take on the weather in Detroit?" And he's like, "We play indoors." I'm like,
We've been
I'm like,
practicing inside the gymnasium.
I'm like, the weather might bother us for 20 seconds when we're getting off the bus, but other than that, it's going to be about it. So, I mean, so I was like, I love it when sports reporters
Don't know anything
don't
about
know,
sports.
but they're so. But I'm like, this is like her chance to shine, and she had a really nice question. And if Detroit had an outdoor stadium, this might have been a factor.
It's not
But
like the Philly snowball.
right, so it's like do your homework. I mean, at least know where the team actually plays. It's indoor, outdoors, whatever.
That's that DEI hire. You know, they had to hire at least one woman.
Maybe. But also in the AFC, and I'm a little bummed by this. I'm
Mhm.
happy, but I'm bummed. I do like the Chiefs because they are a former Dallas team back in the '60s. But the Chiefs will have advanced from playing the Buffalo Bills, and they will go on to play the Baltimore Ravens, the odds-on favorite to, and according to the poster, they're the odds-on favorite to go this year. Um,
Yo, if that happens, I'm waiting for next year because I'm like,
yeah, I know you are.
if we're talking about this next year and it came true, then I might have to write off NFL because it ruins. It's like wrestling, is predetermined. Like they don't really like they don't advertise it, but they don't hide it either. Like it's kind of just something that's understood, but they make it entertaining nonetheless.
Right.
If the NFL ended up being scripted in some way or paid for in some way, it would completely ruin it for me.
There is no way the NFL can be scripted. I'm sorry. The amount of injuries that take place in football, the amount of things that are out of regular control that take place. I mean,
But you don't think the matches can be predetermined? Because look at the refs sometimes. The refs can absolutely make a game.
I hate that the referees are getting that involved in the game. But having said that, if they're doing it out of player safety, then I can't sit there and go, I'm not for it because, you look at the after. I mean, clear. When you get into professional sports and you're getting into a contact sport, you're not bound to live to be 80 or 90. Generally, now some do, but not. But what you're putting your body through. It's like in pro wrestling. Yes, it may be scripted. It may be considered fake by some, but the toll these guys put on their bodies is extraordinary. I mean, the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins has a torn meniscus and a messed up MCL right now, and he's going into WrestleMania here in about 3 months. He has to be out for 4. So how they're going to balance that out and let him do his thing in March, I have no idea. So
do you think the NFL people are just really good at guessing? Like,
well, there are geniuses that work there. I couldn't tell you who they are, but there are geniuses that do work there. And again, unless you put together a black and white poster of the Super Bowl, you're still in colors ago. And if those colors happen to match the teams that are happen to be going, that's extraordinary. I mean, like, do we see this happening now? But then the NBA and Major League Baseball don't have that problem because they have the same neutral colors, red, white, and blue, or whatever. So, it's weird. I mean, once again, it's the NFL. The NFL does things that other professional sports can't do, and they advertise it so well. And this is why you never see people have record number viewings of NBA basketball. That's why the NBA playoffs are always down every year. That's why Major League Baseball can't get anybody to watch the sport because it's slow. I love baseball, but there are those who don't.
I love going to baseball games. Watching baseball on TV is a snore fest.
It could be, but when you're talking playoffs, every pitch matters now because you're under that microscope so hard, and it's not like the regular season.
I can't even watch playoffs. It's only interesting to me if I'm at the game because then you got the horns and you got the wave and you got the the organ and all that stuff. Like it just makes it so much more exciting. And then you got the hot dogs and beer. It's an experience.
Right.
But baseball on TV.
But anyway, the change of games are set for this weekend. You can tune into there you go. Jeff did a sports show on Sunday or Saturday. I'm not sure when he's doing it this week, but I'm sure Sonny will be getting into it as we got into it this past week with my take on the Cowboys and how that kind of pisses them off that I'm kind of a realist when it comes to the Cowboys. So they expect to have the whiner that comes and goes, man, we got screwed by everybody. No, I mean, I know why the Cowboys lost, and it's the culture. It's not so much the players or the coaches. Because what's been the one constant thing the Cowboys had to deal with? Jerry. 28 years, Jerry. So, anyway, that's my take on that. And, of course, you get to check that out on Sundays with once again, this ugly face right. By the way, that beard is going to be colored in nice and black.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. He's going to be doing the Hulk Hogan Fu Manchu thing come up here in February to pay off his bet to me that he lost. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway.
So we were talking about Florida. Speaking of Florida, I do have to say, put up the picture. I'm very upset. But
the blue one?
Ron.
Oh,
Ron.
Yeah.
Suspends his campaign. Now, we were talking about this earlier. The reason they always call it suspend is because they always continue to leave it open in case something does happen to Trump and they can jump back in. But I saw this coming. Everyone saw it coming because the Trumpers are nothing if not loyal and outspoken. And they are a a force to be reckoned with. And he came in second in the Iowa caucus, but Trump was still like 30, 40 points ahead of him. New Hampshire, he didn't even have a shot. He was in like single digits. And it was unlikely that even if he won or got close to winning South Carolina, either way, Trump was going to win all three, it looked like. And there was just no clear path for him to win. So he bowed out like a real man does. When you know it's not going to happen, you take your L. Yep. But he's still got one more year as a governor of Florida, and then I see him going into maybe a Senate or House seat, doing something of that nature, moving his way up, and then maybe going for a presidential thing in 2028.
Yep.
Because sorry for the Trumpers, Trump won't be able to go a third time. You guys are going to be shit out of luck on that one. You're going to have to be fervent for somebody else finally.
Right.
And I'll be looking forward to that because But yeah, like I've been an outspoken DeSantis supporter, so I did have to mention that. But I think he would have done the best job out of all the Republican candidates because he's been the best executioner out of all of them when it comes to putting his money where his mouth is and actually getting the stuff done that he says he's going to get done. The state of Florida has thrived under him, and it would be nice to see him do that to the entire country. But the Trumpers want their revenge, and we're all just going to have to sit here and wait for it.
Honestly, I don't see Trump losing. I really don't.
I don't either, which I'm glad for because I don't want another 4 years of Biden for the reasons we've talked about before when it comes to mainly global stuff, the stuff going on in other countries. I think that weakness could get us in a lot of trouble. But I'm not looking forward to the theatrics again for another 4 years. Like, just watching everyone talk about him 24/7 gets really old. But
yeah, you wouldn't talk about being under a microscope. He's constantly under a microscope through all the media. Just to
and these people just genuinely hate him. Like, and they don't. I feel like most of them don't even have a good reason they hate him. They just hate him because it's cool to hate him. But like even one of his cases, I believe it was the case in New York, the judge, I don't know if we talked about this, his wife's mom died, and he asked if he could have a day off from court to go to the funeral and help, be with his wife while she mourns her mother, and they denied it. So it's like you're just being vengeful at that point, and you're kind of proving his point.
Right.
But the Trumpers are there for revenge, man, and they're gonna show up in full force on voting day. And I just don't think there's enough, even as much as people hate Trump, I don't think there's enough liberals out there that are like, yeah, Biden's the shit, that they're gonna go stand out there in November weather to go vote. Like, I just don't see it happening.
But the thing is, though, is that there may not be those who support Biden, but they damn sure will make sure Trump don't get in office.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I try to explain to, I think, a lot of the people, especially out here in the area we live. They're in their little red bubble, and they don't understand how the people in the other part of the country think. And I'm like, you guys might love Trump so much, but what you don't understand is how much other people hate him. And I'm not saying that it's rational, and I'm not saying they have good reasons or that their reasons make sense. Some of them might have good reasons, but some of them, like I said, just hate him because it's cool to hate him. Because they'll call him racist and all this other stuff. But then if you ask them okay, when was he racist? They can usually never give you an actual scenario. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm not looking forward to it. And I try to explain to people, like, you just don't understand how much people hate him. Like, they will make sure he doesn't get in. And that was another reason why I was trying to convince people, like, I feel like DeSantis could sway the independents more than Trump can. Because Trump, like we were talking about, with I think it was with the Cowboys, like, you either love them or you hate them. There's no in between. That's Trump. You love him or you hate him. Not very many people don't have an opinion on him. But there's a lot of kind of independents out there, the people who don't necessarily follow the news 24/7, like they just kind of like the average Joe, that I
Right.
would be more likely to give someone like DeSantis a shot, even if he's a little more conservative than Trump, then, they're looking at, I was, there was this crazy poll that said only 20% of people think they are better off now than they were in 2019. 80% of people said they are worse off now than 2019. And that's bad for Biden. Like people are feeling it, economy wise and everything else. So I think someone that's a little less brash than Trump could maybe pull more people kind of towards that side to be willing to give it a shot just for the sake of, you know, cheaper gas, cheaper rent, cheaper food. You know what I mean?
I got you. I got you. We'll see what happens. I mean, once again, this year's the year that this is the year that we find out if Biden can go another 4, or we find out if Trump's going to take it over. I think Trump's got it because once again, there's so much leaning towards him to take it that I think it's only a matter of time. We have one more story for me, one more story from you. Do you want to take yours first, or do you want me to do mine?
Um, we can do mine so that we can finish because mine's kind of depressing. We'll finish off on your notes so
All
it's
right.
a little happier.
All right. All right.
Um, there's been a lot of talk. Another major issue that's on the ballot right now is the border. And it's not just because like people are racist and they don't want Mexicans here or some crap like that. Because actually there's a lot of people coming in from China and stuff now, which I don't know. Like I thought that was really weird. There was like a 30% increase in Chinese immigrants. And I'm
Okay.
like,
By the way, one thing that gets me about Donald Trump, really, back to him real quick, is the word China. Every time I hear the
China.
word China, I always hear China. That's what I always hear. So I'm sorry. Sorry, just my thing. I'll shut up.
No, I feel you though. Um, and so one of the biggest problems with the border, other than obviously the mass amount of people that are coming over right now, um, I think they said last month alone was like 300,000 encounters. And that's just encounters. That's just the people that they actually were able to stop. That's not the other people that are hopping over that aren't getting caught, like. And as much as we want to believe in the, American dream and everyone's coming out here because they're trying to get a shot at a good life or whatever, the reality is there's a lot of bad people hopping over. And you got to have some sort of vetting system to vet the good from the bad. Um, and that whole system just needs to be reformed in general. But one of the main things that the bad people are bringing over is fentanyl, which is a synthetic drug that you can buy it by itself, but it's also getting laced into a lot of stuff, which is why you're seeing a really high level of young people. Like it's getting laced into marijuana, it's getting laced into cocaine, and so here this one here says in 2023 all across the country fentanyl death hit record levels. In Seattle, which doesn't enforce drug laws currently, there was a total of 1,060 fentanyl overdoses just last year, which is a 30% increase from 2020, where 717 people died in fentanyl related deaths. If you go back a few years earlier to 2015, a grand total of just 3 people. Now, this is King County, Seattle, by the way. Grand total of 3 people died. So it's jumped from, in under 10 years, it's jumped from 3 people to over 1,000. Fentanyl is now so prevalent in Seattle that people walking downtown often see paramedics and police officers responding to overdoses. And it's there. This talks about a video. There's a video that was going around where this guy walked up to a dude that had just been brought back from an OD. And it's so commonplace. Like these paramedics just kind of like throw the Narcan at him, like pump it up his nose and like walk away. Because these people 90% of the time refuse treatment because they get up and they walk back to go take some more. And it's so prevalent that it's like you see it, it's kind of commonplace. Like these these paramedics are so used to it, they just kind of shoot it up and walk back to the thing and go to the next one. And it's really sad to see. And then you can go to the next picture.
Okay.
And now fentanyl is now involved in more American youth drug deaths than heroin, meth, cocaine, benzos, and prescription drugs combined. Which is insane. When you think heroin, you think like that was the drug that everyone was like, that was the worst drug, right? And now fentanyl is 100% worse because it doesn't take, I think what I read online was like it takes 2 milligrams or something really small, like 2 milligrams is considered the lethal dose. It takes an extremely small amount to kill someone. And like I said, they're lacing a lot of stuff with it now. So you're seeing a lot of kids 15, 16, 13, trying a joint or something for the first time, but it's been laced, and then, they overdose because it takes such a small amount. So it's something to worry about. And they say the war on drugs, like, we lost the war on drugs or whatever, but this is why there was a war to begin with, because there's something to be said about especially educating the youth. Like, I remember having to take like the DARE program every year. Do you remember DARE?
Yeah.
And like you'd have the MAD there, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You'd have to take those things like at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, just more as an educational thing and to remind kids that like you just don't know sometimes when you're picking up that stuff what could be in there. Unless you're in California and you're like growing the plant yourself, and you know where the weed's been. Or it comes from like a licensed dispensary where there's laws around it, be careful what you buy on the street because you don't know what's in there. They could, these guys will, especially to the youth, they'll sell sugar pills. They'll sell pills that aren't actually what they say they are, like, because you're young and you're naive. So just be careful. Talk to your kids. Remind them that there's a lot scarier stuff out there than there was even when I was a kid. Like, I mean, just that jump from 2015 to 2023, from 3 to 1,000 deaths. That's insane.
That's crazy.
What do you feel about that kind of stuff?
I didn't know what fentanyl was until I started seeing all these people who are celebrities or athletes who are dying of fentanyl use, and the fact that at least it's licensed about everything now, it's kind of it's almost like it's kind of like what I'm not gonna say it's like a biological weapon, but it's almost like a weapon that we can't control, because you can come from anywhere. And that's the scary part about today's society is that you can almost destroy an entire civilization based on something that we can just kind of lace with, or we can kind of just like what COVID did. When COVID hit and was wiping out people, I mean, the amount of deaths we were having on a daily basis was getting out of hand, not just here but worldwide.
CNN had that death toll.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy.
See, the problem with to jump on the Wiley train, I hated that death toll because for a couple months they were kind of being shady with it because they were like, if someone died in a car wreck and then they do the autopsy and the person had COVID, they were like listing it as COVID. And I was like, well, COVID's not what killed them though. The 10 tons of steel to their face is what killed them. But that's one of the big things, like pounds and pounds and tons are coming over the border right now, like getting trafficked. And one of the main drugs that they're catching is fentanyl. So there's a lot of it coming over the border, which is another reason why things need to be tightened up a bit there. Not saying like I don't want people to come over. My favorite people are Mexicans, man. Like, I grew up a couple hours from the border in California. My roommate, until I moved out here, was Mexican, and her parents would fly out a couple times a year. And they would bring the best food that I've ever had.
That's important.
And I loved when they came, and they were the sweetest people, and I loved them to death. And I still talk to all of them. The right people can come over here for the right reasons, obviously, and I have had friends, like the system itself needs to be worked out because I've had friends who have gone through it and it's very lengthy and it's very expensive to do it the right way. So I think they should kind of tweak the system a bit so that, the average Joe that is coming over here for the right reasons can afford to get it and do it. It's also kind of depressing that the test that you have to pass, most American kids coming out of public schools right now would probably not be able to pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely needs to be some tightening because the amount that has drastically increased. I mean, I even tell my mom, like, don't get anything that's not coming out of that dispensary because in California and like I know Colorado, some of those other states where marijuana is legal,
In my state, it is.
The dispensaries have laws that they have to abide by when it comes to the quality of the product. So I was like, do not buy anything on the street. I don't care if you're broke and it's cheap or whatever. Like, only buy it from these dispensaries or pot of plant. Okay. Like, because you just can't trust it right now.
Very true.
No matter how much you trust your dealer or whatever, like, you don't know where they got the stuff from. They might have got it from someone else, and then you just don't know.
Very true.
So we'll end on a happy note with your stuff because yours is a little more exciting and fun than mine. A bunch of kids dying from fentanyl was kind of depressing. But I think it's something that people need to know about because I don't think a lot of people understand how prevalent it is.
I agree. Well, woke up this morning. I've known for a long now. For those who know, I do a wrestling podcast, Officers TV, every Thursday. There you go. There's that. Anyway, we talk a lot of stuff that goes in the ring, outside the ring. One thing we've also known is that WWE has been shopping for a new network to air their Monday show. And it had been talked. Amazon was interested. Disney was interested. NBC was interested. They've moved SmackDown to the USA Network, which was their home for Monday Night Raw. They've also moved their NXT show to the CW, which also now has the NWA on there too. So for those, the CW is really getting into the wrestling game now. And they used to be back into it back when SmackDown was there for a while, but now they've changed some things up. Well, it was broke today that 2 bits of news. Starting in 2025, in January, WWE Raw will be on Netflix, streaming live. Now, this deal, I've been reading more on this. 10 years, $5 billion.
Whew.
Now, what will that mean for Netflix subscription rates? I don't know. What will that mean for because
they already charging like 20-something bucks. It goes any higher, I can't do it.
Right. Well, I know that Netflix is trying to get into the streaming sports business, and TKO that owns WWE now, which also runs UFC as well, they're wanting to put their stuff on there as well. So this is a win-win for damn near both companies because they're getting main viewership to wrestling and MMA type stuff, and they're also getting into pro sports as well. But also, as cool of a deal as that is for WWE, you know what? Hey, I grew up watching them on the USA Network every Monday night, primetime wrestling with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan. Came over to Monday Night Raw. They started that. They went over to TNN for a little bit. Then that became Spike TV, and then they came back to the USA Network. But so to lose Raw on the USA Network, it's a bummer. But then you're talking streaming, and you're talking able to go back and watch it whenever you want to watch it. That's the world we live in these days, which,
that would have been nice years ago because I remember when I was super into wrestling, like I used to hate if I had to work or something and I missed a show, and then the next show you don't understand what the hell's going on because you miss
you miss it's a soap opera, right? If you miss a part of the story, then you're screwed, right?
Yeah.
Well, but also we're familiar with the name Dwayne Johnson, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Did you know that Did you know that when he does appearances outside the WWE, he cannot use the name The Rock because Titan Sports or WWE or Vince McMahon own the name, the trademark The Rock. Not anymore, because he is now a board of directors member of TKO. In a sense, he's now Triple H's boss, and he now has full ownership of his own wrestling name. So if he wants to be just The Rock now, he can do that if he wanted to. I know he had a lot of bad publicity coming from the DC moment there with the Black Adam and what happened with how that whole thing kind of spiraled out of control. And he's
I
trying
like
to
the Black Adam.
yeah.
I guess I was the only one.
I dug the movie too. I mean, I wouldn't have owned it, but I mean, it was like watching Blue Beetle. I enjoyed the movie. I wouldn't own it, but it was a good movie.
Oh, I own it. I bought it. I liked it.
Yeah. So, but but clearly, I mean, this could be also an image rehaul for him because him and Oprah got into some sort of big thing about trying.
Well, that was just stupid. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah. So there's a major image rehaul that he's going over right now, and again, not that his movies are drawing a whole lot of money these days, but the name and everything he stands for means a lot more to those. He showed up on ESPN and was a part of the game day live thing for when they were over in Colorado for Deion Sanders thing. And then he went from that right to Monday Night Raw to be a part of that. Or, I'm sorry, SmackDown to be a part of that show. So, he's still a name in that industry. And he's, having the legacy of his grandfather and his dad, now him. And the fact that he even says it sucked because, the Soul Man, Rocky Johnson, he can never own the name the Soul Man. The High Chief Peter Maivia can never own the name the High Chief. But for him to be able to own the name The Rock means a whole lot to him. So I think that's a win-win for everybody who's involved. Once again, it doesn't hurt anybody that he actually owns his own name. $5 billion for Monday Night Raw. That's incredible. Now, I don't know how they're going to do commercials.
And think about those reparations are $14 trillion.
Yeah. Let's see which one's going to get done first, okay? Because once again, I think Disney had like $250 million laid out for him. USA was paying like.
Yeah, but Disney ruins everything it touches lately, so that's probably why they didn't go with that.
So. Maybe so, but
Disney's the new Bud Light. They're struggling right now.
It's amazing because of Bud Light. All their beer comes out of the same companies that make all the other beers. So it's like the fact that you're shitting on Bud Light, you're kind of shitting on every other beer as well.
People took it seriously. I was working at a bar and people were not purchasing any Anheuser-Busch products.
No, so
they were boycotting all of them. Beer, not just Bud Light, like all of them. Like they were taking it seriously. And I was talking to like when the guys would come to restock, the beer guys, they'd be like, yeah, our sales on Bud Light have dropped like 40%. Like it was ridiculous. Like people took that shit seriously.
But
I think it was a stupid move by them, but I don't like Bud Light's always tasted like ass anyway, so.
But this is a huge deal for WWE. It's a huge deal for Netflix.
Now, Netflix, I'm watching you because I'm still upset about the making a murderer thing. So don't screw over WWE, okay, and start making it woke and weird, or I'll be really upset. Because you have a bad habit sometimes, Netflix, of leaving a lot of stuff out and twisting shit. So I'm watching you.
Here we go. She has her woke sensor on. Watch out. So.
I just hate when they take something really good and then they put stupid shit in it. You're like, really? But why don't fix what isn't broken?
Right. Well, I mean, they still have really good programming on Netflix. I've been wanting to tune in over to Apple TV though. I don't have it right now, but I had it for a while. But they have a new movie coming out that's got the kid who played Elvis, Austin Butler. He's like a World War II airline, or a pilot in the army or whatever. Mm. And the trailer looks awesome. I mean, it's almost like a Saving Private Ryan type feel to it. So I almost want to watch that and just subscribe to Apple TV for like 1 month so I can watch it. but they got good programming over there too. Once again, all these streaming services got excellent programming. The ones that the major ones, obviously, there's
Yeah.
if you have Roku, you have Roku TV. You go through
Netflix
and see
has
all
all
these.
my favorite rom-coms, but
Okay,
they,
which
they
one's your favorite?
favorite rom-com?
Yeah.
The To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy.
Okay.
Oh my god, those are so. I bought the books because after watching that, I was like, oh, I just love the characters. They're cute.
I think Netflix has that series, The Virgin River, which was loosely based off some novels, but they branched off to a TV show. And it's been on for like 5 or 6 years now. It's a really good show. It's very very clean. It's not dirty at all. And and once it's good, it's innocent TV watching really. But it's got a really good story and it lingers every season. So
have you watched any more of the Candace Owens thing?
I've not been home. I've had concerts all weekend, so I've missed out on all that. But yeah,
I can't
definitely.
wait. We're gonna have to talk about that after you're done with it, because
Yeah, most definitely.
you'll be just as mad at Netflix as I was. I felt hurt.
See, I wouldn't say I'd be hurt over because I know that when documentaries are made, certain things are left out. Look, going back into the wrestling thing, there's a series on Vice TV called Dark Side of the Ring. They look at one side of the story. They never look at the entire thing. And their story. I mean, once again, they're really good. They're really good documentary people who can do that stuff, but they're not telling you everything. Like their first couple episodes, one of them was the Montreal screw job. Well, if you already know about the damn thing from the Bret Hart documentary that he made to all the things that have been said about the entire screw job, they didn't add anything. You just reposted something we've already known about. Same thing, if you're familiar with the Von Erich story, they did one on them not too long ago. That helped me out because I didn't know much about the Von Erichs really. I was in Texas my whole life. Then the movie really helped me out as well. So clearly, a lot of documentaries like to leave stuff out, but also can really tear into some real issues there with people that are involved. Case in point, legendary announcer Jim Ross, him and Ric Flair work for the same company, AEW. They don't talk to each other because of a Dark Side of the Ring show, because of what Jim Ross said about Ric Flair. Because it was the plane ride from hell, or when Flair was like swinging his all over the place and taking his robe off and doing his whole thing and just being Ric Flair. And just
I love JR though.
Yeah, I love JR too, and I hate that. I watch him, I see his health deteriorating so bad, and I'm like, I hate that for him. But
what about Jerry the King? Were you
Yeah.
Were you watching when I was actually watching the episode where he had that heart attack during the show?
I remember that, and it was so sad to see. I'm glad he's doing okay. I know he's not 100%. He had a stroke not too long ago, but he's starting to come around. He's got the gray hair now, which is weird seeing, but and the white beard. But
his character would not survive in today's woke society because he was such a outspoken about women, I guess is the best way to put it.
Puppies. Yeah, he did all of that. Yeah. But it was a time. It was a thing of the time for him, and it worked for that time frame. A lot of things that did in that time frame wouldn't work today. But then we're an ultra sensitive culture, so get ready, have a lot of fun with that. We're about ready to get ready. We got another minute to go, so let's talk about all our stuff here real quick. Again, we're follows on Facebook on the Daily Grind. We are now airing live on our Facebook page. Finally, check us out on YouTube and just type in the Daily Grind Trey. You'll see a picture of us, and then just like the thing from there. Subscribe to us on there. Go follow us on Instagram. Okay, you ready, folks? Here we go. All right, follow us on Instagram at _daily_grind. _. There you go. You do all that, we're all good. And plus, we're also on X/Twitter. I'll have more information about that because I got it started, but I haven't done nothing with it. Kind of like how I did my original Twitter. So we'll go from there. Go check that out. Of course, check out Presley's show, The Middle Ground.
We got an episode coming out. It's going to be tomorrow instead of today because I've been busy with schoolwork. I'm still working out the kinks on leveling out the different shows and schoolwork now that I'm back in school. So we're still tweaking that. But this tomorrow will be an episode about abortion, which is a hot
Huge topic.
topic.
All right. Also, check out Fit Trends. Where is that thing? There you go. I don't know why your other thing's still there. Also, okay, here we go. Produced on the fly. I still got the thing up here. My bad. All right, I'm a bad producer, folks. All right, Fit Trends with Presley Christine and Karen Ashley. Go check them out as well. New episodes pop up on whenever they can, because everybody's busy with life. That's just how things are. Check out us again, Offshoots TV, this Thursday night. Me and the boys get together and do our thing. Also check out Sunny Clark, Couch State Sports Show. And I have a new project getting in the works. Once I have more about it, I'll let y'all know. But that'll
stay busy.
You know what? This is what we do. This is what we, I work overtime and do this. She does school. She's got 2 twins and she does this. We're all busy people, folks. We're all trying to live the best life we possibly can. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Daily Grind. Thank you all so much. Again, I'm sorry about yesterday, but once again, Mother Nature, she can be a bitch sometimes, and that's just how it is. So that being said, we are done.